The European Union is expected to approve its first retaliatory measures against the current Trump administration's tariffs imposed on March the 12th. The bloc is responding to the 25% levies on imported steel and aluminum, a mark valued at 26 billion euro per year. Pablo Guterres is in Brussels, where EU leaders are meeting to vote on a new round of tariffs. So, Pablo, the EU revised their schedule twice prior to this morning on retaliatory tariffs. So, what was the rationale behind the delay, and what can we expect in the coming hours?
Well, that's right. First off, we are expecting that vote to come sometime this afternoon today. But as you asked, the EU held off on launching this retaliation. It's retaliation right away because leaders wanted to give diplomacy a real shot. They were hoping last-minute talks with Washington might ease tensions or even lead to a compromise. We saw this week how the European Union tried to give Washington an olive branch, proposing these 0-0 tariffs on industrial products. Now, there's also real pressure on how to fully assess these countermeasures, and that's part of why that delay happened, why they pushed the timeline. But after weeks of internal discussions and consultations, it looks like the EU is ready today to make that move. Officials are expected to approve the first round sometime this afternoon, and it will kick off in April 15. So first on the list are American products such as soybeans, the most valuable U.S. export to Europe. Over 80% come from Louisiana, which is the home state of House Speaker Mike Johnson. Also, next up from Kansas and Nebraska, poultry, and from Louisiana, also white chocolate. So Brussels says this is all in retaliation to Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs. On Monday, the EU, as I indicated, offered to scrap that deal on industrial products, but Trump refused it, and he said that he wanted, in exchange, the EU to buy $350 billion worth of U.S. energy, including oil and natural gas.
Well, the global auto industry faces major disruptions as well from the tariffs. What is the situation in Brussels and Europe as a whole?
Well, the tariffs on cars are hitting directly at the heart of European manufacturing. Germany, for instance, is a top exporter of vehicles to the United States. But it's not just the big players. Countries like Slovakia, which rely heavily on car productions for jobs and exports, are very vulnerable at this moment. 44% of Slovakia's total industrial output is related to car production. So it's very important for them to have a stable base. Now, here in Brussels, policymakers are under pressure. They're not just trying to respond politically, but they're also trying to reassure the industry that supports so many millions of jobs across the continent. Now, automakers are warning already of potential plant slowdowns, lost contracts, and delays in the supply chain. So while we're waiting to hear from the European leaders and on these countermeasures today, there is also a wider conversation unfolding on how to protect this sector in a long term.
Okay, Pablo Guterres reporting from Brussels.